Welcome to the Vol Bros, presented by the Oldwalk Club. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin, and we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. And ladies and gentlemen, we are dangerously close to the third Saturday in October. You know it's a special game when it has its own name. Rustin, are you excited about this Saturday?
Not at all.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that too, for sure. Speaking of the Oldwalk Club, was there yesterday with my daughter. The course is in pristine condition. It was just the tee boxes, man, were just so nice. And my daughter and I were both very impressed. We got in the cart, and there was a cooler on the back of the cart with already stocked with water bottles. So that was pretty cool. So be sure to check out the Oldwalk Club and let them know that the Vol Bros told you about them. That would be awesome. Well, we are very, very excited this evening because we have a very special guest with us. And I think I have the title correct. He is the Chief Customer Officer with the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development. I think that's correct. Dennis can correct me if I'm wrong when he comes on the screen here. But everybody in Vol Nation knows him, even if they don't realize they do. And that's what's fascinating. So, Dennis, welcome. We're so glad to have you. Did I get the title correct?
You nailed it, Evan. You did good.
That's what I'm talking about. Dennis is actually great friends. Being in the Department of Tourism, he's great friends with Bill Dance, and we've had the privilege of having Bill on our show as well. And so we'll try to link. I'll try to remember to link that show in the description as well. But Dennis, we are so excited you're with us, and like I mentioned, every person watching the show right now knows who you are, even if they don't realize they know who you are, and that is because Dennis will forever live in Vol lore as this guy right here on top of the goalpost in this iconic photo after the 1998 Florida game. And what's so cool is he's wearing the exact jersey that he's wearing in the photo on the show tonight. So the reason we're so excited to have Dennis with us, and I'm going to come back to this photo here in a minute, but this is perfect timing. Because here we are, we're sandwiched right between the Florida game and the Alabama game. And Dennis was at both the Florida 98 game when the crowd rushed the field. Obviously, he was part of it right there. And the 22 Alabama game when the crowd rushed the field. So, Dennis said, I know it's not going to be easy, but can you try to compare those two atmospheres and what it was like in the stadium celebrating?
Man, it was, 98. It was kind of wild. We had front row seats. Angela and I had bought season tickets, and we picked up last minute deals from the ticket office. And for some reason, they put us on the front row, right behind the goalpost in that south end zone. And so, yeah, we were literally right front row, pushing the concrete wall, right there in section M. So the perspective for that game in '98, we were down low. And for the Alabama game, I had done some trading around, and I put the girls. I wound up putting the family down low, and I was actually sitting in the upper deck during the Alabama game of '22, and so I had a different fan or stadium experience. But man, I don't know. I think the crowd went to the Alabama game of '22 with an expectation that they thought something special could happen, and I think Florida was one of those deals in '98. You always hope that something could happen, but we've been destroyed for so long by Steve Spurrier and the Florida Gators of that decade. And I don't know that we expected to win that game. I think it was I felt like when he missed that field goal, it was like the curse is broken.
Absolutely. No sirree. The great call by John Warren.
Pandemonium reigns. So
absolutely.
It was different experiences. I think the crowd did have an expectation that it could happen in '22.
So, Dennis, when you look at this picture, two questions. Number one, do you remember anything about that night? Number two, if so, what was going through your head when you got on the field? Like, was your first instinct, I'm climbing up on the goalpost, or like what was going through your mind during all this?
So I told you we were on the front row, row one, section M, right behind this goalpost, and And when we lined up, when we were lining up for the kick, when Cooper Collins was lining up for this kick, of course everybody was standing up and beating the walls, and the electricity was in the air trying to disturb the kick. And all the folks behind us were yelling, "If he misses this kick, if you all don't go forward, we're running over you." So, for about 60 seconds prior to the kick, we all had marching orders from the folks behind us that they were coming without us. And Angela, my wife Angela, you guys know Angela, was sitting beside of me, and we had made a plan and said, we're going to get separated in this deal. You think in '98 we didn't have cell phones back then? You didn't. How are you going to find that person? And we said we're going to get separated. We had already made a plan of where to meet outside the stadium after if it all went down. But so I knew that I had to go when the if the kick was bad. So as soon as we saw the signal, when we saw the refs doing this, it was like, oh my stars, this is going down. And I jumped. The CBS camera, what was funny is the CBS camera, there's one, I've looked at a million different views of the different archive footage of, a lot of people send me clips from here and there, but there was one view of the CBS camera that followed the kick through the end zone, and it kind of zoomed in on the crowd as the wave started over. And one of the cameras kind of, for whatever reason, they picked up and kind of zoomed in on me as one of the first people across the wall. And I've got this on tape, and I tell this a lot of times in crowds in my day job now. But when I came across the wall, if you remember those state troopers that all like to line that back of that end zone, they were state troopers shoulder to shoulder right there. And as soon as I came across the wall, the camera picked up on this, but a state trooper stepped right at me and had his arms out, and I did the best spin move I've ever done in my life on that state trooper. And I've got CBS footage to prove it. And, so I tell a lot of my friends today that are state troopers, I'm like, there was a time where I did put a spin move, and I've got it on video to prove it. But I wasn't going straight for the goalpost. I ran straight toward straight out through the end zone. And Angela was sitting in our seats back then and had a little camera. She was taking pictures. She has a picture. I'm in the end zone. The Florida players have not even got up off of the pile yet. They're still laying on the ground, and we've made our way across the end zone. And I look up and I see a security guard. So I see a security guard running from kind of the sideline, running toward me. And you're thinking, oh man, here it goes. You're about to you're going to get taken out. And about time he gets 3 or 4 yards from me, the security guard puts up his hands and we high five in the end zone. So yeah, I was expecting, to have to try another spin move or what I was going to have to do. So, and this is all on video
awesome.
too. So I'm not exaggerating. We can go back to replay if we need to, but so we I high-fived the security guard. And by the time that had happened, when I turned around, I'm standing on the goal line. I'm already through the checkerboards and I'm on the goal line. I turned around and looked back, and by this time, the wave that was coming already had the goal. They were already on the goalpost, and the goalpost was breaking, or they were working on the goalpost. And by the time I got around back down, the goalpost, if you'll remember looking back, the goalpost actually spun. It did like a pivot. It did this right here. And so that one arm was laying down by the ground, and everyone was rocking it back and forth here. And that thing could have hurt somebody when it fell. Actually, when it popped and snapped, it came crashing to the ground. And I just was standing when it crashed. It all went up on everybody's shoulders and started moving across the field. And where I was standing, when that thing started walking away, I looked up, and that goalpost, that stub was right over my head when that goalpost started marching away. And I said, I'm going up that. I'm going to get up for whatever. I'm going up that goalpost. And I think someone was standing close. I think the first step I had to get a push with a foot. But once I kind of got started, you'll see the glove on my right hand. Everyone asked me if that was a Michael Jackson glove or what I had going on. That was actually a glove that Leonard Little had given me sitting on that front row a lot of times the players would come around at the end of the game and throw out their gloves. So I don't know at what point in time, but I remember that glove. He came around and that became a part of game day attire. And so they say, did that glove help you grip that pole? And I might as well, yes, I'm sure it did. But just wound up on top and got right up there. And man, it was just a sea of orange. I mean, you've seen the photos, and I remember looking down. We had no cell phones back then. Everybody didn't have a camera in their pocket in '98. I mean, no one had a camera. And I remember this looking down, and there was this photographer. It was one of the event photographers, and he went around like a half circle. I remember him. He was out about 10 yards, and he just walked around about a half moon circle, and he was taking all these shots. Had no idea what he was capturing. But he wound up being a photographer with the Associated Press, the AP. And so this photo the next day hit the AP wire. That's how back then is they distributed everything through the AP wire. So I tell my kids that, that's our version of going viral. If the AP wire picked you up and your photo went across the AP wire, the next day I had friends on the West Coast. This photo got picked up in Seattle. It was the front page of the sports section in Seattle. It was in a couple of California papers on the front page. And so I wound up having friends calling. Back then you had to call the landline. But I had messages from folks going, don't tell me this is you. And of course, ESPN featured it, over and over and over and over. And that became, it became a symbol of that Tennessee-Florida rivalry. And
absolutely.
We know that we were going to have a bad program for 20 years. And I tell my kids that picture kind of became the symbol of hope through those 20 years of the downturn. Every time there was a big rivalry game, this photo would pop back up, and you hear the term all the time. It feels like '98. It feels like '98. 98 was just that special year, and but had no idea that this photo was going to become the symbol of hope for over 20 years.
I mean, it's perfect framing. It's the Vols letters behind you there and everything. It's perfect.
The Associated Press, the guy, he knew what he was doing.
So do you know the guy on the front of it there? He's hanging onto your jersey, trying to stay up there. Do you know that guy?
It's funny. So I do. I met that guy one time. I don't know who he is now. We met one time. But he almost pulled me off. You can see his right hand has this jersey clenched.
Oh yeah.
And he was struggling to stay on, and he was there he probably wasn't there a minute. And I wound up putting my foot on his chest, and I wound up like it's both of us are going down, or you got to go down. And I wound up pulling that Nike tennis shoe up and putting right on his chest, and I had to take him off. But I was probably up there. Again, I've seen the footage, so it was probably 5 minutes.
Wow.
Back in '98, they were cutting sod. They destroyed that field cutting the sod up. If you all remember that.
Yep.
There's one video clip. Someone threw me a square section of sod that was about a 12-inch by 12-inch square section of sod. And I'm on the pole and I'm going, what am I going to do with this sod? Well, I wound up just setting the sod on my head. So there was a period I was up there with a section of sod on my head, and then someone threw me a flag. So there's a period of time where I'm up there and I just have a flag and I'm waving this big orange flag, but no, it was probably a 5-minute period. But I want to tell you this part of the story of I tell people I probably would still be on the goalpost if it wasn't for this next piece of information. So you see my shoes dangling down right there. This involves my wife, Evan, and you guys know my wife, Angela. So during all of this, where we got separated in the crowd, I guess she looked up, saw me or whatever. She migrated back over, and she was actually standing right under me when all this was going on. So she was right there. You can't see her in the picture, but she's standing there. Well, there were Florida people on the field, and it was some equipment managers that were cleaning up the bench, the Florida bench. If you remember, that was the Florida end zone where they had to go out to their bus and their equipment. Well, one of the Florida equipment managers walked by during all this ceremony, and he decided that he wanted that left shoe right there, that Nike shoe that was hanging down off the pole. He decided that he wanted to take that with him. And my foot was down, and he had his Florida gear on, and he reached up and grabbed that shoe. Well, Miss Angela was standing there, and he didn't realize that Miss Angela was with me. And this guy grabbed my shoe, and I remember he looked up at me and he kind of waved like, I'm going out of this tunnel. I'm taking your shoe with me. Well, this is when your amazing wife, Miss Angela, steps in, and she reaches over to grab, to stop this shoe theft. You know, we're going to call them low down gators, doggone shoe thieves. And she reaches over to grab him. And when she grabs his shirt, she grabs it by the collar, and he had a gold chain on. And of course, there's 700 state troopers down there. And as soon as she reaches to grab, they are swarmed by Tennessee state troopers. And I jump off the pole at this point because my wife is fighting to get my shoe back. And by the time when I get over there, the state trooper, he said, "What's going on?" Basically, he said, "What's going on?" And she said, "He's got my husband's shoe." And he said, "Well, she's got my gold chain." So Angela, when she got a hold of his shirt, his gold chain broke. So she was holding the guy's gold chain. He had my shoe. There was this exchange of gold chain for shoe. And that Florida guy smarted off to the state troopers. They wound up putting handcuffs on the guy and walked him. The last time we saw him, they were walking him out of the tunnel with handcuffs. So that's the end of that guy. And I tell everybody, if it wasn't for my shoe and Miss Angela defending me, I probably would still be on that goalpost.
Well, now this jersey, which I think it's awesome that you're wearing the actual jersey in the photo right now, but so my understanding is it made a reappearance in the 22 Alabama game.
This jersey, we believe, at that time, we thought it might have some of that Tennessee magic dust left on it or something. So we broke it out in 22 and wore it to the Alabama game. I mentioned that I think people went with an air of expectation. Well, I broke this thing out, and it's not been worn. It doesn't get worn a lot, and it's kind of put up and protected. I don't want it to fall apart, and I hope to give it to my grandkids one day, should the Lord bless me with some grandkids. But this jersey was on at the Alabama game. We broke it of 22, and so you can see that's my daughter Sadie, my youngest daughter Sadie. Is on my shoulders, and we were going to recreate the photo. She has this jersey on at the 2022 Alabama game, and we were going over to recreate the photo and kind of have a ceremonial passing of the torch. I had carried the burden for 24 years or so, and was ready to put that on to the next generation. And we got over there, and there were two police officers stationed at the bottom of that post, and would not let us, did not want us to climb the pole. And I would not be a good example if I would have disobeyed the police officer's commands and put her up there anyway. But that's as close as we could get. Sadie's got the jersey on, and she's touching the goalpost. This one will be on Saturday. I'm glad Danny White made it an orange out, and I do not have to go buy orange. So here's a funny story about the 22 Alabama. The people around me where we were sitting knew that this jersey was the jersey from 98. And there were probably 10 or 15 people around me before the kick of the Alabama game that we won. They were all reaching down and rubbing this jersey and touching the jersey. Like the whole section up here, as far as it could reach, they were like, touch the jersey. And so they were reaching down and everybody was rubbing the jersey. So anyway, this one will be on Saturday.
That's what I'm talking about. And so your daughter Sadie there, I was fortunate and privileged. I got to teach, my wife and I both have gotten to teach Dennis's daughters. I got to teach two of them. My wife got to teach all three of them. And one of the funniest memories I have of Sadie being in middle school was she came in a shirt one day that had this photo on the shirt. That was awesome. That was fantastic.
That was probably one they had me made. I think they made some for There's been a couple of versions. What's crazy is they've been sold in Knoxville. So there's, how they do those special game day shirts periodically.
You get NIL deals out of that?
I did not. No, that AP photographer, I've got to reach out with him and get that release. But yeah, they did a version said Pandemonium Reigns on a T-shirt, and I think that's one
awesome.
City wore to shirt day to school. But no, it's been fun over the years.
What's fascinating?
I went into the UT Sports Hall of Fame one day for my job. I had some customers that we were down there kicking around UT, and we went into the Sports Hall of Fame, and I didn't know this photo was going to be over there. We were looking at the deal, and I looked up and stopped, and at that point in time, I told the group I was with, I said I had no idea that I was in the UT Sports Hall of Fame, and they said, "Do what?" And I said, "Look up on the wall right there." And they had that photo. I don't think it's still there. They've rechanged some decorations and so forth since that time. But there was a period this was on display in the UT Sports Hall of Fame.
That's awesome. Well, what's fascinating is if you just Google Tennessee versus Florida 1998 and click on images, this image shows up from the Knoxville News Sentinel right here. That's amazing.
About 17 times. Yeah, it's funny how that has lived and been a great piece of fun for our family for sure.
Well, let's see what some folks have said in the comments. Mina like you. Welcome. Good to have you. Audrey, welcome. Good to have you. Let's see here. Mina Likey said, hit the like button. I think that's a great idea. Everybody, I think that's a great advice. Audrey said you already did it. Good. So I'm talking about Audrey. Thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see. Evan, hey, welcome, buddy. Evan Myrick's joining us. Evan is an Alabama fan. And when Rustin said he's not excited about this weekend, Evan said he's not either. Let's see here. Mr. Osborne, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. He said, good evening to all. I hope everyone and your families are doing well. Go Big Orange. Absolutely. Mina like he said she's excited. And Oreo Puppy Dog said he can't wait. Let's see. Let's see here. Rhonda, welcome. Good to have you. She said, good evening all. Go Big Orange. Tony said, I was really fired up coming to the game Saturday. Tony was there last Saturday. He said, yesterday afternoon, my youngest sister passed away. Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry, Tony. He said, didn't think I was going to be able to make it, but today her kids did arrangements and service isn't until Monday afternoon. So with a heavy heart, I'm coming. Hope my Vols can lift my spirits some. Absolutely. Hey, if anybody in the UT Athletic Department's watching, now you got more bulletin board material. Win it for Tony. That's the thing there. Win it for Tony. Tony, we are so sorry about your loss, man. We are so sorry. Let's see here. Bobby, welcome, Bobby. Good to have you. He said, my battered Vol syndrome needed Dennis tonight. I feel rejuvenated and ready for Alabama now. That's what I'm talking about. That's great. TK said, go Big Orange. Absolutely. Rhonda, when you were talking about that jersey, she said, I hope he's going to the game. That's good luck right there. And then you said you are.
I'll be there.
That's awesome. Let's see here. Austin said in the photo, is that a young Josh Heupel on the post? That would be pretty amazing if it had been.
Yes.
I guess Josh would have been graduating high school that year, or no, that might have been his first year at the place in North Dakota, whatever community college that was he was at. Let's see here. Oreo Puppy Dog said, I met Leonard Little in a gun shop on Jonesboro Highway just outside of Johnson City. That's cool. Mina Laggy said, that's what we need. Pandemonium reigns. Absolutely. Oh, this is cool. Austin said he was on the field that night as well. He said we had hedges around the stadium and I still have some of them vacuum sealed from that night. That is really cool. This is becoming one of my favorite Vol Bros traditions now. So Dennis, just so you know, ever since we got sponsored by the Ooltewah Club, this gentleman here, TriStar, has asked us every week why we aren't sponsored by. Last week it was somebody in Polk County, and now he said, why aren't y'all sponsored by the Honors Course or the Sonic on Ooltewah Ringgold Road?
it keeps going. There's also a mention of Crystal.
Okay. Well, the Crystal's gone in Ooltewah now. So.
Yeah. And then he asked that question, what happened to the Ooltewah Crystal? I'm pretty sure he got on MapQuest and just took an aerial shot of Main Street in Ottawa and started reciting every business he could see.
Audrey asked why they tore the crystal down. So I don't know why. I think I do though. And Dennis may know better, but it was hard to access. It was not an easy in and out from the freeway. You had to go up and turn left and go down Hunter Road a little bit and then come around into it. So I think that's why I didn't make it. But
I'm not so sure they tore it down so much as rabid animals gnawed it down. It was not the most clean or friendly establishment, and there is no telling what was living inside that place.
Let's see here. Tony said, been to Neyland several times. This is my first Bama game. Mina Lackey was congratulating Angela on saving your shoe. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see here. Kevin, welcome, buddy. Good to have you with us. He said, go Big Orange. Let's see here. Brandon, welcome. Good to have you. He said, go Big Orange. Mr. Osborne said, I have to say that's a really cool story, Dennis. Absolutely awesome. Absolutely. Matt, there's another Chattanooga guy. Evening, y'all. Welcome. Good to have you. Oh, hey, TriStar said he used to live in Ooltewah. He's from Polk County. How about that? Well, that's really cool, man. Very, very cool. Hey, listen, like I said last time, if the honors course or if Sonic or if somebody wants to sponsor the player of the game segment, I'm on it, buddy. That'd be fantastic. He said y'all should get Jaquez Smith on. Absolutely. Former Ooltewah Owl at Ooltewah High School, Jaquez Smith, and defensive end at Tennessee. He needs to come on. I agree. Absolutely. Let's see. Papa J said, any news of Cameron Selden playing, or are they thinking about redshirting, or is it too late for that?
I think we're heading for a red shirt. I was very surprised not to see him returning kicks. I think we're going to see him redshirt.
Austin said, is that TriStar Hats company that sponsors another Daily Vols podcast? Maybe they're giving hints. Oh, I got you. Matt said he's from Signal Mountain, lives in Hickson nowadays. That's what I'm talking about. So Greg has asked a great question. It's going to transition us into the preview of the Bama game here. Greg asked, what's making Rustin so nervous? So here's what we're going to do. We are going to preview the Alabama game. TriStar said he doesn't do the hats. Let's see. Hey, Audrey, how about that? She said, I lived in East Brainerd for years. She's from McMinn County. Just putting that. How cool is that? Rustin and I grew up in East Brainerd. Very, very cool. Very cool. So here's what we're going to do. Dennis, I let Dennis know this earlier as well. We're going to one by one go through and say what we hope to see, what we like to see from Tennessee this weekend. So Dennis, why don't you start for us, buddy? What would you like to see from Tennessee this weekend? Oh, I think we might have lost Dennis. He's frozen. He said he was having some internet issues earlier today. Yep. So he said if he has internet issues, he'll come back. So Rustin, why don't you start? What do you want to see from Tennessee on the third Saturday in October?
I want to see three things. So preseason, I picked Tennessee to win this game, so I'm sticking with that. But I'm much less confident now than I was then, for a lot of reasons. But I want to see, number one, I want to see Chris Brazzell have a big day. We have got to find offense somewhere other than Dylan Sampson. And I think he's probably the best option right now. I want to see Jeremiah Thielander and Arion Carter do a great job hounding Jalen Milroe and spying him and making sure that he doesn't. I'm not worried about Alabama's running game, and I think you can bend but not break against their passing game. The one part that concerns me is Milroe's ability to run. And so I think if Thielander and Carter have a big day, that means Jalen Milroe isn't, and that's going to play to our advantage. And then the third thing I want to see is I really hope they learned a lot from that Vanderbilt film. I want to see motion on every single play. I want to see a lot of 12 personnel. if you move somebody on every play, the defense has to declare. They're either playing zone or man. It helps Nico. So I want to see on literally every snap some kind of motion so that Nico can figure out what coverage they're in. Because Coach Womack, Alabama's defensive coordinator, is a heck of a defensive mind. He's going to disguise things well. The only thing you can't disguise is motion. So, and that's how Vanderbilt picked them apart. They moved somebody on every down. They had to show what they were in, and then they just attacked where they knew the defense wasn't going to be. So I hope that they spent a lot of time studying what Tim Beck did to Alabama, and that they go out there and replicate the exact same game plan.
So my favorite thing about what you just said, and the funniest thing I heard all week, was you mentioned the guy you're concerned about Jalen Milroe's athletic ability and his ability to run. The funniest thing I heard all week was Navy Schuler was the scout team quarterback simulating Jalen Milroe. I was like, Jalen might be a little more athletic than Navy Schuler.
We may have a couple of steps on him.
Yeah, just a couple. Dennis, what would you like to see out of Tennessee this weekend?
Man, I'm kind of a big picture guy. I'm looking for the win. I didn't stress the details on Florida. It was nerve-wracking to sit there and watch it, and you hope that something happened at halftime, and they came back and did put some. You could notice it, being there, and I could feel a noticeable difference in the pep in their step. Man, I think that the timing's got to be on. I don't like to criticize the guys at all. I want to work on the timing and hit those plays when the timing's perfect. I think you look back at Hendon Hooker, and something that made Hendon so special was his ability to be so quick on the read. He could read, and it made the timing where a half a second, quicker or sooner or later, those plays didn't work. And I look back at some of the Jalen Hyatt footage from 22. Man, a split second, one way or the other, and Jalen Hyatt's plays didn't happen.
Absolutely.
I just, defense has been playing some stand-up ball and really bailed us out against Florida. The fumble down in the red zone on the 1 yard line, 2 yard line, that was the opposite end of where I was sitting, and couldn't believe that ball come out until we saw it on replay. But defense has got to keep that energy, but I just like to see the offense clicking with that perfect timing. They're so close, Absolutely. But it's just microseconds.
James Pierce Jr. channeling his inner Dennis Tumlin with that spin move on the edge of the line.
Well, I didn't want to say anything, but I had been working with those guys. They've called me up and brought out that old footage from '98.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, the thing I want to see is what I think will be the difference in a win or a loss, and that's, can Alabama key solely on Dylan Sampson, or will there be a passing threat this weekend? Our entire offense, like Rustin was saying, our entire offense cannot be Dylan Sampson. It just can't. If that's the case, we lose. We have to be able to throw the ball. We have to. As we saw with Florida, or not Florida, them too. But when Georgia played Alabama, clearly Alabama's secondary can be beaten. That is something that we've seen. When you look at the Florida game last week, Florida's defensive backs could not keep up with our receivers. They just couldn't. We had a step on them every deep ball. We had a step, maybe sometimes 2 steps on them. So can we, like Dennis was saying, with the timing on the deep balls and different passing routes and stuff like that, can we have a passing game that complements Dylan Sampson? If we do, then we win. If we don't, we lose. It's really that simple, in my opinion. Because if we're one-dimensional on offense, that gets really easy for a defense to be like, okay, well, that's the guy we got to worry about. He can't hit any of his receivers, but Dylan can run real well, so we're going to key on him. That becomes way too easy, way too quick. So that's what I would love to see, is a complementary offense to Dylan Sampson. Let's see here.
Dennis,
go ahead, Rustin.
Dennis, your story's great and all, but I know what our viewers really want to hear. You have a daughter that's currently working in the football recruiting office. What is this weekend's recruiting going to look like?
There's things there I can't tell you about, but that's another cool piece to the pie. You know, we didn't have any kids in '98. Angela and I had just been married for less than a year at that time, and I know I wasn't acting like a guy that had a wife there at the game. I was acting like a kid that just got out of college. But you know, in that emotional excitement, we were all having a great time. But Bailey Ray, you know, here you guys know Bailey, my oldest daughter. Angela was having, so she was born September 23rd of the year 2000. The week before she was born was the Florida game. Angela and I were in the stadium, and Angela was having contractions in the stadium with our first child. She was born 5 days later after she called her doctor and said, "Can I go to the game?" And he said, "If you don't mind having the baby at the stadium, go ahead." But 5 days after that Florida game in '99, Bailey was born. So her first game that she ever attended was the year 2000, was a Tennessee Florida game in 2000. I believe it was Tennessee Florida, but she was 1 year old. And now I tell the people that the kid was almost born in Neyland Stadium, and here she is working for Coach Heupel in the athletic department. So
tell people what she has an awesome job. Tell people what she does.
Well, she's a recruiting analyst. She graduated University of Tennessee and has a degree in business, and she interned in athletics her senior year. So after her internship was over, they offered her full-time staff position, and she got a ring last year after the bowl game, and you know, she's included in the team photos, and she just does that behind the scenes stuff, you know. But
that behind the scenes stuff in her office is the lifeblood of that program.
It's the lifeblood of the program, and I swing by all the time when I get a chance to swing by and pop my head in and try not to be a nuisance. But yeah, really proud of the work she's done, and then my middle daughter Chloe is a junior there at University of Tennessee in the School of Business, so you know, we're pretty faithful Vol family, and just thankful for the doors the Lord's opened for us, and got some good kids too.
Can you at least say, like, how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how big is this recruiting weekend?
Man, it has not been a 10. I think all I can say is this whole year has not been. It has just been amped up all year long, and that's, I'm just amazed at what Coach Heupel is doing, and the energy and what they're able to pull together, and I purposely don't ask Bailey a lot of questions because I don't want to know a lot of things that she knows, and she's sworn to secrecy on a lot of things. So
absolutely.
And I purposely don't ask her, and I don't bother her, but she does have the inside track, and she knows what's shaking. So yeah, there's such a staff behind. You know, you don't really realize that staff behind the scenes, but man, it takes an engine down deep inside that organization to make that thing turn. Man, we've got a lot of superstars out front, but we got a lot of superstars in that back office that just I call it the grease that keeps the train on the tracks, and they are doing some great work, heavy lifting.
When Bob Welburn ran that office, I know there was 11 people in it. How many people do they have in that recruiting office?
In her office right now, the core group she's in is 6. There's I would call it 6, but there's operations that has way more than 6, right. But just in recruiting, there's about 6 of them there, and they've got a slew of interns. So they're part of the strategy in the heavy times is they lean to some interns. But NCAA rules, you know, that's one thing about Bailey Ray. She has to adhere to all the NCAA rules, and she has to go to training to understand what she can and can't do. Yep. And the interns have very strict rules of what they can and can't do. And no, it's been fun for her to get dialed up on those legalities, and she's trying to pay attention to it.
The compliance side is insane.
Yeah, the NIL deals, you know, she's don't directly get involved, but she has, as a business major, she loves the NIL side of the equation, and so who knows what she'll wind up into.
That's awesome. Some of the comments came through what people want to see this weekend. Oreo Puppy Dog said he wants to see a fake punt. It's about time, right? Like they've been talking about it for 2 years with Jackson Ross being such a great athlete. TriStar said he wants to see Lance Hurd be consistent. Amen.
Or Larry Johnson.
Also that, yeah. Audrey asked a great question. She said, will Jeremiah Thielander be the person who gets the in-helmet communication this week since Keenan Peely's out?
Yep.
Yeah, I would assume to be Jeremiah. I guess it could be Arion Carter, but probably Jeremiah Thielander.
Yeah, you don't really see Carter calling the defense very often. It's usually Peely or Thielander, so it'll probably be Thielander that'll get the earpiece.
Evan, who is an Alabama fan, said, you keep Jalen Milroe in check, you win. Shorten the game with long drives. Our defense is garbage.
So Kane Womack is a really good coach. So I wouldn't say the defense is garbage. I do think your corners are suspect. And that's why I want to see Chris Brazzell have a big day. Those young corners have been getting picked on all year, and they don't seem to be getting any better.
Matt said keeping Milroe at bay is the key to winning. Let's see here. A lot of Polk County talk going on in the comments right now.
It goes on for quite a while.
Let's see here. Matt said we just have to play that Vandy offense this weekend.
I didn't say we have to play the Vandy offense. I said Tim Beck and Jerry Kill are fantastic offensive minds, and they figured out how to hold Bama in place, and we need to mimic it. And it'll help Nico.
I mean, they won, so yeah, let's play the Vandy offense. Like, that's my thing. Let's see. Rhonda said we need to protect the ball and control the clock and score. Amen. Absolutely. Let's see. Matt said there was almost 100 recruits at the Florida game. I'm sure it's around 100 for the Alabama game too. Huge game. Go Vols. Absolutely. Let's see. Audrey said, we won't tell anyone anything you tell us, Dennis, promise. That's great. I love it. Sanders, welcome, Sanders. Good to have you. She said, hey, guys. Carlos said, go Big Orange. Absolutely. Matt said, love this show, y'all. Love this stream. Good vibes. Hey, we appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much. Let's see. Evan just said, we just can't get off the field, whether it's third or fourth down. Not consistent enough. But who knows? Maybe we look like world beaters come Saturday. Tennessee has been historically known for making teams look like world beaters, particularly backup quarterbacks. But hopefully those days are behind us. Sorry, that was a little battered ball syndrome flaring up in me there. But hopefully those days are behind us. Speaking of battered ball syndrome, if you love a shirt that says battered ball syndrome survivor, we have those on thevolbros.com. So let's see. Greg said, what do you expect to specifically see from Nico this week? What do you think, Rustin?
I go back to what I said last week. Simple. If you have a pre-snap motion on every play, the defense has to declare zone or man. Now he knows what he's looking at. They can't fool him. I'm still saying I want to see at least 8 designed runs. That'd be one a possession. We've got to get him involved in the run game to take pressure off Dylan Sampson. And then in the pass game, I go back to what I said last week. I want to see first read, check down, run. Don't stand there and try and figure it out. Don't overthink it. Go with your gut. If the first read's not open, hit the check down. If he's not open, take off.
Austin said Bama gives up big plays. It's time for Nico to drop some dimes like we know he can. Hopefully the offensive line can give him enough time to do so. Let's see. Audrey said, I would love to see a live ball foul or flag on Bama. Yeah. Amen. Let's see here. Sanders asked about the basketball team. If we have time, we'll get that at the end. Second thing, Dennis, we'll start with you. So Rustin and I go live every Sunday night as a post-game show, a reaction show, pre-game on Thursday, post-game on Sunday. Who do you think all of Twitter and everybody's going to be talking about on Sunday is somebody who just had a phenomenal game Saturday for Tennessee. Who would be your prediction for that, Dennis?
Man, I'm ready for Brew McCoy to break out. I mean, just put the ball in Brew McCoy's hands. The guy came back. He's ready. Man, I'm just ready for Brew McCoy. I think back to the 2022 game. If it wasn't for Brew McCoy, we wouldn't be kicking a field goal.
Amen.
He made a big-time play with 14 seconds left on the clock to get us in position. The guy is a hammer. So I'm hoping they're just talking about Brew McCoy.
Audrey totally agrees with you. I do too. Absolutely. Rustin, who's your player that we'll be talking about?
I'll go back to one of my three keys. I think if we win, it's because we contain Jalen Milroe. If we contain Jalen Milroe, that means Jeremiah Thielander had his coming out party. We've been saying for a year and a half, I think he's the most underrated player on the field. Now he's going to get significant snaps. I think we're going to see a big-time player arise. I'm looking for Jeremiah Thielander to have a huge day.
That's a great pick. Matt, thank you for that super chat, buddy. We really appreciate that. You were very kind. He said Keenan Peely makes a public announcement this week, starts with beat Bama. Let's do it for Peely. Absolutely. Absolutely. So Rustin and I did not confer on this beforehand. I'm going to cheat actually a little bit here. I'm going to pick two people, but I know I'm not supposed to do that, but yeah, it's our show, so we can do what we want. So I'm going to pick Jeremiah Thielander and Arion Carter because we win this game if Milroe is contained. And those two guys are going to be the guys that contain him. Those two guys have enough athletic ability and speed to beat him to the sideline, to keep him from escaping. Now, once we get on down the line, because listen, we know they're going to roll out at least 5 different linebackers, it seems like. We know we'll see Caleb Perry. We know we'll see Jalen Smith. We know we'll see, maybe 4. Maybe 4 linebackers. We do know that Jeremiah Thielander and especially Arion Carter can keep Jalen Milroe from escaping. So those two guys are going to be the key. I think we're going to be talking about how many tackles that they had on Sunday because those two dudes are the key. I would love to say, and I'm going to throw off a wild card here, I would love to say that Boo Carter is going to be talked about a lot because, as we all know, every time they put Boo in the game, you might as well just watch him because they're blitzing him half the time he's in the game. And so I would love to say that Boo would have a tremendous impact and hopefully get maybe 1 or 2 tackles for loss on Jalen Milroe. But I think Boo will be flying in there so fast and out of control that Jalen will be able to avoid him. Arion Carter and Jeremiah Thielander, he will not be able to avoid them. They'll be under control and be able to get him. So that's why I'm going to go with that. Some of the comments came in, then we'll do our predictions here. Let's see. Rhonda said she would love to see less penalties on Tennessee. Yeah, absolutely. Especially holding and false start and offensive linemen downfield. It's sad that all 3 things I just mentioned revolve around our offensive line. Let's see here. Oreo Puppy Dog said Nico needs more rollout RPOs. We saw them do that successfully to start the last 3 of 4 halves that they've played. Let's see. Evan said, don't worry, we'll have plenty of flags. We currently rank 118th in the country. That is accurate, but it's also accurate that Tennessee, by a long way, a big margin, Tennessee is last in the SEC with opponents' live ball penalties. So the teams that Tennessee are playing have been penalized in live ball situations far less than any other team in the SEC. There have been statistics about that on Twitter all week. It's been kind of fascinating. Austin said, I know our defense doesn't normally switch our DBs depending on what side the other team's number 1 wide receiver's on. But do you guys see us locking McCoy on Williams?
Yeah, they've been flipping the corners. They don't move the safeties or the nickel, but they've been flipping the corners. McCoy and Gibson have been covering the same guys every game all year.
Rhonda agreed with Boo Carter. She wants to hear his name. Absolutely. Oreo Puppy Dog said, is Elijah Simmons healthy? Great question.
According to the injury report, he is. They didn't even list him.
Maybe same miraculous recovery as Bryson Eason last week. I don't know. Bryson Eason went from having his knee worked on the field at Arkansas to dominating against Florida. That is a quick turnaround for whatever happened there. Bobby said, want to see Mike Matthews come out with a big game. I think that's a great pick. Absolutely.
Yep.
Carlos said, I helped carry the goalpost out of the stadium at the 98 Florida game. It was awesome. Actually, I thought the Gators hit that field goal, but it didn't take long to go berserk. Let's see. Greg said, expecting to see any changes on the offensive line. I don't think anybody will know until 25 minutes before the game when you see who is on the running with the ones with Nico warming up.
I could be reading too much into it, but I think we might have gotten a little surprised this week. Lance Hurd was extremely injured prior to the Florida game, and they did not list him on the injury report. He wasn't on there at all. This week, he's on there. Sometimes as a coach, you can leverage things like that to your benefit. We've all heard the stories. Lance Hurd apparently can be a bit of a prima donna. If you're a coach and you're dealing with a kid with that kind of personality, hey, listen, you're really dinged up. We want to make sure we can finish out the season. So, hey, this week we're going to limit some snaps and get some other guys some reps so we can make sure you're good for the rest of the year. I think it's a little odd that he wasn't on the injury report last week and he is this week.
It's convenient, no doubt.
They may use that. It may be their opportunity to get Larry Johnson some snaps.
Rhonda said she thinks James Pierce Jr. is who we're going to be talking about. Man, I hope so. Really do. When I was talking about the offensive penalties, Audrey said, hold on, I'll get you numbers. Audrey is like investigative reporter extraordinaire. She is fantastic, and she will message us during shows on Twitter and be like, all right, just send it to you. It's fantastic. So I'm going to open up Twitter in another tab here so I can wait for that. Herb said, let's hope the chains took off the offense and keep Milroe in the pocket. Contain his scrambling, and McCoy keeps Williams in check.
So something interesting about that comment. I listen to Mac and Cube almost every day. They were talking about, I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, they were talking about Jalen Milroe. And Greg McElroy, who is extremely connected with the Alabama staff, made a comment I was not expecting. He said the Alabama staff is trying to limit Jalen running sideline to sideline. They want him to stay in the pocket, and then if he has to run vertically. They don't like how their offense functions when he runs sideline to sideline. They said he's not very good throwing off the run right now, and they're trying to limit that. So it was very interesting to hear somebody saying that the Alabama coaching staff is actually telling Jalen not to scramble, to stay in the pocket and then run vertically upfield. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out Saturday.
Austin said he liked your idea there on Lance and the injury report. Sanders asked, why do y'all think we get a lot of penalties? I think it's because we have two offensive tackles who are injured, and they
commit a lot of penalties.
Unfortunately, they aren't mobile enough right now because they're injured, and so they have to just resort to holding people. Unfortunately, yeah. I think that's the problem. I think that's a great question, and the pre-snap penalties there's no excuse for, but the live ball penalties like the holds and stuff, I think they're injured and they're not mobile enough right now. Well, all right. Well, y'all let us know in the comments what your prediction is, but this is the moment of truth here. We're going to give our predictions for this Saturday. I'm going to be honest with you. I really struggled with this as I was thinking about this. But Dennis, You lead off, buddy. What do you think's happening this Saturday?
Tennessee 24, Alabama 21.
I think that's a fantastic prediction. That literally is almost exactly what I'm going to say too. That is a fantastic prediction.
Well, then let me go next.
Okay.
I think it's going to come down to whoever has the ball last. Like I said, I picked us to win when the season started. I'm going to stick with that pick. A lot less confident with it, but I'm going to say 24-23.
That's a good one there. Hey, as long as it's 1 point more in our favor, we're good,
Yeah.
right? So here's my thing. And just so we're all clear, Sandoval, everybody knows Sandoval. He earlier on our show this season predicted that Tennessee was going to beat Alabama by 2 touchdowns. Well, he messaged me when he did. He predicted each game. He messaged me this week and said, just wanted to reiterate, I'm sticking with my Bama beatdown prediction. 2 touchdowns, book it. That's what he said. I love it. That's what I'm talking about. I love it. Here's my thoughts. If we were basing this solely off of the people on the field between the lines, the people playing the game, I couldn't pick Tennessee because we're playing with offensive linemen, or the 2 tackles who are injured. Where we have a redshirt freshman quarterback who has struggled in SEC play so far. I mean, there was like 5 quarters there where he had a quarterback rating of 17. That's not good. We have been one-dimensional on offense the last 2 weeks. And because of those things, I was sitting there thinking, like, how can you pick Tennessee? But I'm picking Tennessee because of the people who are on the sideline. We have a head coach who is one of the fiercest competitors I think I've ever seen. We have a linebackers coach who was Kalen DeBoer's linebackers coach.
At one point, he was his defensive coordinator.
Yep. Who is now at Tennessee. Clearly, he is going to know Kalen DeBoer's offensive tendencies. He's going to know a lot about that staff. We have a defensive coordinator who is proving to the world right now that he will not let teams score more than 20 points a game. I mean, like, it is incredible what Tennessee has done defensively this year. Number 1 defense in the country. So because of those things, I almost said 24-21, actually. That's literally what I almost predicted. But then I was like, but there's this magic number 20. There's this magic number. No team has scored 20 points yet on Tennessee this season. Unfortunately, I think that Alabama does score 20 this week, but Tennessee scores 21. And so I'm going to say Tennessee 21, Alabama 20. And my blood pressure much higher than that. That's what I'm going to go with. 21-20 Tennessee. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Go ahead, Dennis.
No, hey, what's your prediction on the decibel level? Are we going to set a new decibel level record?
Oh, great question.
I think that's on the line.
It is. People are already calling for it on Twitter, a new record. So just so everybody knows, Dennis is exactly right. As of right now, the loudest stadium in football history, not college football, not just the NFL, all of football, the loudest stadium in history is Neyland Stadium. And that record was set on Jalen Wright's opening touchdown against Georgia last year. That was the record-setting play. It's 137, I believe. Is that the record?
Yes.
And so could Tennessee break that record this week? People are wanting it to happen. I think it could happen. I'm sure Dennis will be contributing his 2 cents worth to it there too. in that jersey.
Yeah, you feel like it's 2 cents worth in my voice. I've told myself this past week that I wasn't gonna burn my voice, but come overtime, I fell victim and fell in. But I'll probably give it four full quarters this week.
Hey, because of your jersey, I'm picking Tennessee to win 21-20.
Let's make it virtual, where we can get some virtual touch like the last kick.
Absolutely.
It brought the mojo.
That's what I'm talking about. So Audrey just sent me the numbers. Thank you, Audrey. You are awesome. So here are the penalty numbers so far this season. Audrey is the best. She said Tennessee has 8 offensive holding penalties, 7 personal fouls, 2 roughing the passers, 1 running into the kicker, 1 roughing the holder, 1 face mask, 1 chop block, for a total of 21 penalties so far this year. Their opponents, Florida had 0 live ball penalties. Only pre-snap penalties. Arkansas had 2. Oklahoma had 2. Kent State had 1. NC State had 3. UTC had 0. For a total of 8. So Tennessee had 21 penalties. Their opponents have had 8. Not ideal. Not ideal. Let's see here. Everybody's predictions that were coming in there. Herb said 32-26 Vols. Man, I hope we can put up 32 points. I hope we can. I don't see how we're going to, but I hope we can. Rhonda said, got to be better on special teams. Absolutely. Jackson Ross had a weird week last week. I do not expect him to listen. I will go to my grave standing on the hill that he miskicked that last punt. There was no way he intentionally kicked a line drive right at the dude. I mean, like, he hasn't done that ever in his time at Tennessee. He miskicked it. That was a miss. There's no way that he did it intentionally.
We have one of the top 3 special teams coaches in the country, college or pro. It'll get solved. That I have no concerns about special teams.
Greg said, crowd makes the difference and gives the team confidence and needs to get over the top. Absolutely. Totally agree. But Rhonda is right. We do need to not miskick the ball this week for sure. Evan said, I could be wrong, but hasn't Heupel's teams traditionally had a lot of penalties? Didn't he have similar problems at UCF? Not sure. I'd have to go do a little research. Austin said 24-23 Vols. Is that what you said, Rustin? Is that your prediction too? 24-23? Yep. Okay. Tennessee Junior said it's tight, but he'd take it. Win's a win, right? Let's see. Bobby said, maybe you can answer why our opponents don't get live ball penalties when we have the best defense in the nation. That's a great question, because there have been plenty of times that holding could have been called and it wasn't.
Yeah.
Evan said, I think it may be higher scoring, closer to the 30s. Could be, but Tennessee has yet to allow 20 points by any team they've played this season.
I would say if Bama gets close to 30, it's not a game we're winning.
Yeah, I agree. Tennessee Junior said 27-21 Vols. Austin said he put his prediction on first. I love it. This is my favorite one. 2-0 Tennessee. I love it. That's what I'm talking about. Matt said, even though he's a diehard Vols fans, he thinks Alabama by 10. I mean, I get it, man. I get it. I totally understand. Okay, Evan said 31-27. You got to give us a team, Evan. You got to give us a team. I'm guessing he's saying Bama because he's a Bama fan. Bobby said 24-21 Vols. That's a great prediction. That's what Dennis predicted too. Rhonda said, I'm thinking it's more 28-24. Hey, as long as they win, absolutely. Absolutely. Matt said, don't mean to be a bummer. Talk me out of it, please. Herb said crowd will be a plus factor. Totally agree. 100%. Especially what in the world was Kalen DeBoer thinking this week? He was like,
And then his wide receiver coach doubled down on it today.
I mean, what are they thinking? Hey, this stadium that has the record for highest or loudest stadium in the history of the game of football. Let's say they're not loud. That'll help us real good. Like
His wide
that's not going
receiver
to spur
coach,
them on.
his wide receiver coach today equated it to a rainstorm. He was
Nice.
like, "We've been in rain before. It's not a big deal."
Nice. Rhonda said the best fan base will be another defensive player. Absolutely. 100% agree. Matt said orange out. It's going to be awesome. Absolutely. He's calling a shot. He's saying we hit 139 on the decibel. I love it. Let's see. Sanders said if we cut down on penalties, we win comfortably. Man, that'd be wonderful. I would love that. Jordan, welcome, buddy. He said go Vols. Matt says NCAA have to get us with the penalties. Jordan said penalties are killing us, taking away big plays that we need. For sure. Specifically, Dante Stallworth down the sideline 2 weeks ago. That was a big one that got called back. Kevin said 28-24 Vols. That's a good prediction. Audrey said 24-21 Tennessee. Let's see here. Yeah, Evan said it was Bama. Let's see. Oh, Audrey said that it was an AI created video. I wondered about that when I watched it. I thought it looked a little odd. Did I say Dante Stallworth? I meant Dante Thornton Jr. My bad. I may have said Dante Stallworth. That's a bad. My bad there. I meant Dante Thornton Jr. Let's see. Tennessee Jr. said not the smartest thing to say about Nealon. Rhonda said that's putting gasoline. Absolutely. Alpha Man 06 said, Justin, we need to go quick and short passing. They know the SEC and staff is from the West Coast. They don't know any better. So a lot of Tennessee predictions in the comments, couple Bama predictions, all of them very close. And I think that is 100% accurate. It's going to be a very close game, in my opinion. Dennis, we can't thank you enough, man, for joining us. We can't thank you enough. Thank you. We really appreciate your time. We appreciate the story. That was awesome.
We'll have another one. Maybe we'll come back next week and I can talk about another spin move.
Amen. That's what I'm talking about. Audrey said the wide receiver coach did say the noise was equivalent to a storm. Yeah, I thought the DeBoer video looked a little AI generated, but I wasn't confident. And then more people were talking about
the receiver coach today on film very clearly said it. It was mind-boggling that he would make that statement.
Yeah, not a great motivational thing for or reverse psychology. We'll say it. We'll put it that way. Tennessee Junior said, "Well, then it's going to be equivalent to a Category 5 hurricane." I love it. That's great.
Might be too soon.
Well, we really appreciate everybody joining us tonight. This has been a lot of fun. Dennis, thank you so much. I do have one last surprise for you. Everybody who joins our show as a guest on our show, we know that you have done incredible things as far as like your career. We know that you're at the top of the Tennessee tourism business. Well, now you have another title that you can add to your repertoire, and you are now an honorary bro. How about that? That is what I'm talking about.
I like it, man.
That is what I'm talking about.
Dude, I'll get a shirt made. I need an honorary bro. Hey, there it is.
We got you covered. We're going to send you one.
Yeah, I didn't know that was coming up, and that is awesome, man. I'll wear that to the gray out if we have a smoky.
There we go.
A smoky game coming up.
That's what I'm talking about. So as a thank you to you, we're going to send you that shirt. We send it to every guest that we have. So we're really appreciate that you joined us. You are now an honorary bro. That's a elite club, man. Hey, Colt Kubelik's in that club.
I'll take it with pride, man. I'll cherish that. So thank y'all for asking me to come on and share that little piece of family history. And volunteer history. And last thing I'll leave you with, we did get a piece of the Alabama goalpost out of the 22. Friend of mine fished it out of the river. I guess it's a whole nother story for another show, but it got pulled out of the river, and he gave it to my girls for Christmas. So we've got it in the shadow box upstairs. So
that is awesome. That is fantastic.
Thank y'all so much, and we'll do it again next time and talk about this awesome victory over Alabama.
Absolutely. Matt said, Dennis, Evan, and Rustin, always a pleasure. Audrey said DeBoer's never been in Neyland. That's very true. Bobby said, thank you, Dennis. Great memories. Rep us well in the stadium. We'll be cheering from Kentucky. Go Big Orange. Rhonda said, thanks. Show was uplifting. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you for joining us. Austin, they knew it was coming. Austin said, honorary bro. Audrey said, honorary Vol Bros. I love it.
Like it.
Absolutely. Rhonda said, wear that shirt after we win. Absolutely. Matt said, I want a shirt. Where do I get it again? Hey, I got you covered, buddy. All you got to do is go to thevolbros.com and top right corner where it says shop. And I accidentally stopped sharing it. My bad. Hang on. Let me put it back on the screen. All right, here we go. Awesome. It's not loading at the moment. Our internet's deciding to take its sweet time here. thevolbros.com, click on shop. There you go. And it's right there. It's right there. It's not wanting to share my screen now. Let's see here. Greg said, rest your voices, everyone. Absolutely. Sam said, go Big Orange. It's great to be a Tennessee Vol. Absolutely. Thank you all so much for joining us. We hope all of you have a fantastic evening. Third Saturday in October, 3:30. It's going to be a big game. Big game. Go Vols, and we look forward to seeing everybody on Sunday. Hey, look for Dennis. He'll be the one in orange on Saturday. He will be wearing that jersey. So look for him on TV. Who knows? You might even see him on top of a goalpost again. Who knows?
One of my kids. I'll put the kids up this time.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Have a great evening, everybody. Go Vols.